So the more I think about it, the more I think that we should really consider political segregation because I don't know. I hear people like talking, it's been kind of a thing lately that, I guess people are starting to like realize that there's nothing actually like no defense against the attacks that are coming to the sane side from the crazy side. And it's kind of like there needs to be some kind of pushback and there hasn't been, and people are like starting to like talk about making fun of them, which has always been a thing for me. I always thought that the whole anti-bullying movement was the start of all this insanity, but I think we should really consider the possibility of politically segregating. I can't think of anything else other than just a flat out war, like a civil war between people, or a civilian war, I guess, more appropriately. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not like some kind of fucking, expert on how to build a society or save one for that matter. But to me, it seems like the logical step would be for two opposing parties to avoid like harsh, devastating conflict. It would be get away from each other. And, there seems to be no settling any of this. Everybody is like every day you get up and who's canceled today? Like the whole cancel thing, like how fucking stupid is that? But I don't know. I mean, there's no like there's not a moment of peace. Like reality, like absolutely everything has become completely political, and I just don't see any any of it going away. The only way it could go away is if everybody just magically just said, you know what, this isn't good. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like apologize to all the people that they hate, all the bigots and the racists and the fascists and the xenophobes, blah 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 blah. Um, you know, everybody would just have to make up, and that's just something that isn't possible with people. And I think the main reason for it, like sometimes when I'm out, I see people and I just want to like walk up to them and say, hey, please don't let this political nonsense tear us apart. Like just think about it. It's them up there and then everybody down here, and they're pitting us against each other. But you can't say that to people. And I think the reason that people would get so butthurt about it and so angry about that is not because they don't believe it, but because it would essentially be threatening the possibility that they might get something out of this. And I think that's really what it comes down to, especially like the Black Lives Matter BLM crowd. Those people are just like they're either the dumbest people on earth or they're just pretending. I think I think it's kind of both, but I think it's a little bit more of the latter, because I think that for the most part, most of the BLM members and the angry BLM supporters or participants, I don't think they were actually thinking about like, what's happening in the world. Racism is a problem. I think if anything, most of them were just like angry in general, and then just had some reason to, now they had a cause to attach themselves to, and now they can go out and loot and steal and rob and do all their favorite things consequence free. So I think separating from these people, liberals, leftists, Democrats, progressives, Marxists, communists, whatever you want to call them, is the best thing. We could divide the internet. We could, have completely different like internet connections where all of their crap would stay there, and then we could just wait a while and have our own societies, like decent societies with like normal decent people that aren't like crazy or demented, and then they could like be over there somewhere, however, whether it was like declare the states red or blue and split them up and have like laws for one and no laws for the other, laws for the red, nothing for the blue. Or we could just like divide it horizontally. Of course, I think that would be a little, I don't know, it might be the same. It's just that the decent people would have to move. I would say northern. I prefer southern because I like the heat, but, they want open borders with, Mexico and the rest of the world. So it'd be easier to just like do it that way. I don't see too many people coming from Canada trying to get in here. um, But yeah, I just think that it's a possible solution. I don't know how well it would work, because there's a curiosity that children would still have for what's going on over there. But at the same time, they would be raised more intelligently to actually be intelligent people that actually think, like know how to think, not are told what to think. And there would be values and structure and stuff like that so that the kids could grow up fully functional, instead of just being brainwashed and indoctrinated by lunatics like AOC and I don't know, the entire Democrat Party, Hollywood, etc. But yeah, I just think that there needs to be some kind of a solution. Otherwise, it's going to come down to war. You know what I mean? Like, because now that people are hitting like way past due the point of being like frustrated to where they're going to start, making fun of them like to their face, with the whole mask thing and, the dudes wearing like a full beard and a mustache talking about I'm a girl and all this like crazy shit. And there's no difference between men and women, like lunacy, just straight up lunacy. Like when they start saying like, this is not real, you're delusional, shut the fuck up, nobody wants to hear it, least of all me, and I don't want you teaching that nonsense to my child. When people push back in that way, they're going to get violent, and they're already violent. But the problem, like, you can tell because you can barely even talk to these people without them going into like a screaming fit. And if they realize they're losing traction, it's going to be like all out, like an onslaught. The problem is that the big corporations and all the people at the top, considering how much power they have and the fact that they're actually using that power to influence things in such a destructive and negative way, they're not catering to the masses. They're like taking over. You know what I mean? They're using the loud lunatics to make themselves seem bigger. And bullying everybody else into complete submission. And I don't know. It's like, it's going to get ugly. So I figure like, why not just like separate, and then we can all just live in peace, and they can destroy themselves, and then we'll go and like try to clean up, like whatever's left once they obliterate their society and, wipe themselves out with all their insanity. And then, we could just go and see if there's anybody that, realizes how dumb they were and would like to come live with normal people again. Of course, under strict observation to make sure that they don't relapse into fucking liberal land. But anyway, I don't know. I just think it's like, it feels like all of the prisoners in the world were all let out, and they're like, all the criminals have been let out of jail, and they're amongst us, and we're trying to like, reason with them. It's not going to work. So political segregation, that's my solution for the foreseeable future. I just think it's going to turn like super duper ugly really soon. And, it's going to progress to war, or they're going to win. And then some people are going to try to fight back, and it's going to be such a small number at that point that they're going to be able to label them as like the worst people and justify, wiping them out. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm looking around the world trying to find a possibility. I don't know. It's almost like maybe that's why they're doing the whole like vaccine task force, so that, because they know that they're, the walls are closing in on us and they're destroying this place, and they want to make sure that nobody can leave unless they've been tainted with whatever the hell's in that shot, which I'm not interested in. So anyway, I guess that's all. And I guess I will see you guys or talk to you guys later. Not really a lot of saying, but bye.